What's up, guys? Today we're going to be painting the Miata. And 180. This should be good. We have spares. There's our little sanding machine. The fresh sandpaper, 8 grit on there. Much better. So we're gonna go ahead and try to sand the whole half of the car just to show you, and then I'll pick up from there. I just got done sanding the car, well, using the machine sander, and I sprayed it down with some water. You can see some parts got a lot more paint than other. So I'm just gonna use this little scrubby pad and some dish detergent and wash the car down real quick. All right, now I got it all washed with dish detergent, a little scrubby pad, so that way there's little to no grease. We should use wax and grease remover, but we're trying to keep this on a budget. So while that dries, we're gonna go inside and have some lunch. Car's all prepped up, kind of. We did a ghetto, but we got a little bit of tape around some places. You know, cheap paint job, who cares? We're just gonna start spraying some primer. 60-degree weather, barely any prep. Ghetto primer. Doing this on a budget. $40 spray paint. Light coats. Hey, you seen any masking tape around? Yeah, me neither. Just now finished cam 1. I got this quarter panel, light coat, and this whole side of the car. So, time for can 2. Subscribe! Getting one more medium coat on before the night. We're losing daytime here, so we'll probably just do the light coat and the medium coat and let it sit overnight. Come back to it tomorrow. So let's skip to tomorrow. 4 hours, roughly. It's like 23 or something. And the car is fully primered, I guess. We used our 4 cans, so that's all we're gonna worry about. We have some 800 grit. That's good for primer. So we're just gonna wet the car or wet the sandpaper and give it a nice scuff. The idea of sanding the primer isn't to take off the paint or take off the primer. It's more to scuff it and make sure that the surface is even and prepped for paint. So, all right, there we go. There's a couple sheets. Just need one for now. I'm gonna wet the car down, wet the sandpaper, and start sanding. I'm gonna do light pressure, even across the sandpaper. And you'll feel the difference between the rough primer and the smooth primer. And you don't want it to be like perfect smooth, like a paint job. You just want this to be even. So, but with still enough grit or scuff or whatever so that the paint can adhere correctly. And like right here, you can see there was a little problem with the primer adhering, I think because of the paint from underneath. So we might actually just bring this down a little bit more than the rest and hit it with some more primer on top I might have in the back. But yeah, that's already starting to smooth out. So it's not too big a deal. Just gonna not worry about that for now and do the rest of the car. Okay, we skipped forward to the next morning. Just got done washing it with some cheap degreaser from Dollar Tree I had laying around. Washed it, dried it with this little towel thing. It's the style that doesn't leave any lint or anything. So we've got the car pretty much all dry, with exception of a few trim pieces on the bumpers. But we're gonna worry about the bumpers and the hood towards the end of painting. We're just gonna focus on most of the body panels right now. We're gonna start off by doing a light coat throughout the whole car. So let's get started. Okay, so what we're gonna do next is give a light coat to the bumpers, just like we did to the rest of the body. Okay, now that I have the rear bumper painted, I also went ahead and had the front bumper painted, just didn't record that part. We are going to go ahead and start doing our second coat. We're gonna start off on the same side that we started, the driver's side fender, and then work our way around. You can see I oversprayed a little bit too much over the same part. Right here it's more even. Up there, undersprayed and then resprayed. But with a third coat, we should be able to blend everything in. Just to give you an idea, some of the things that you're gonna have to be looking for if you're painting with the same type of paint. We're in the midst of painting coat number 3. Right here, you can see this is after coat number 2. This panel right here is under coat number 3. This is all coat number 3. Something that I learned right now using this metallic paint, and that I haven't encountered as much with flat color paint or just regular gloss, no metallic flake, is that the metallic is not as forgiving as the rest, especially not as forgiving as the primer. So one thing that you really want to take into consideration with Rust-Oleum has a very small spray pattern. So it's not going to stay consistent throughout the whole can, since you don't have an air pressure behind it. So as you're spraying, keep conscious of that and make sure that you're adjusting your spray angle and your distance away from the body. So we just got the whole hood done. You can see what I was talking about earlier with the consistency of the can, which is really why I hate painting with cans. Down here, for example, we have decent coverage, decent consistency, and as the can starts to run out, the consistency of the paint starts to waver, I guess you could say. Something I noticed right here, looks like the primer is bubbling. Maybe it didn't get full adhesion, or maybe some of the old paint is starting to come off. So simple, what we're gonna do is get a little razor blade and pull that off and see if we can just paint right over it. Big flake. Okay. One thing that I've really found to work well is instead of painting straight onto it, paint it at an angle. So paint upwards. For example, let me see if I can get a good shot of this. Kind of like that. Just letting the paint barely graze on there. And it's really good at masking the imperfections. So we're gonna try to do the most that we can right there, make this trunk look a little bit better. Not sure how well the camera picked that up, but in person, besides all the dents, which cause a little bit of waviness on there, it looks like it took away a lot of the streaks. And I'm sure once this dries and fully cures, the inconsistency and the wetness will disappear at least a little bit. So that pretty much wraps up the painting for today. We're actually out of our cans and we're trying to keep it on the $40 budget, so we're not gonna buy any more for that. Although we could end up doing a little bit, a few more touch-ups and do that technique that I just showed you right there to mask the imperfections on other parts of the car. But this is pretty much it right now painted. See if I can do a little video after the paint is dried, 24-hour cure. Here's 24 hours into the drying process. I think it looks pretty good, total coverage. The one area that didn't come out as good as the rest, I'd say, is the hood. You can still see a lot of streaks, kind of how the trunk had it, but we were able to mask the trunk with that third coat, and it came out looking pretty flawless when it comes to streaks. So we could end up doing the hood again like that, and just get rid of all that nasty. But the rest of the car looks pretty decent. It's just the large areas like that it's kind of hard to keep consistency on the spray pattern for Rattle can. But overall, we're pretty happy with what $40 gave us for a paint job. I mean, you can't go wrong with this. There's not much light in here, but if you see it right in the light, you can see the metallic flake. Now, the next thing that we could do is either clear coat it, maybe scuff it up a little bit, maybe with some 1500, put some clear coat on it, or we could even let it dry for a couple days, wait until it cures a little bit more, and then wet sand it and buff it. But for the time being, we're just gonna leave it as it is, and maybe in a future video, we'll show how to really bring out the shine in this type of paint. But all right, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Comment, like, and subscribe. If you plan on doing something similar, make sure to let me know. I'd love to hear your opinions. If you think that I could have used a different company spray paint that would have been a little bit better, I'd love to hear your input down in the comment section below. And like always, stay tuned.